If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We've had a cracker of a start to male leopard just across the road. How epic. So we're going to try and follow him. We've got Lauren on Djuma as well this morning. She's going to be checking up on the hyena den. We've got Eric at Ngala, JP at Pridelands, and Pete at Pinda. So jump on board and join us on a live safari through the African bush. Morning, everybody. My name's John T. We've got Darren on camera and Davy joining us at the back. We've just literally bumped into this male leopard walking along the road, and we're going to try to stay with him. The brief glimpse that we had, it looked like Tavangumi. Oh, Darren, what a boychi. So Darren spotted him. I'll just try and get a better view of him. Is he still moving?
Yeah, he's moving.
So we just want to be nice and gentle with this leopard. He kind of crouches. There he's in that termite mound. When a leopard's smelling in a termite mound, it could be Action Jackson. They'll often sniff in there for maybe a warthog. So please remember, we are live, so send in questions and comments. Oh, Dan, are you going to get through that gap there? Perfect. Please send your questions to #WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on YouTube. And if you're under the age of 18, pop us a mail on kidsquestions@WildEarth TV. You can register on the Wild Earth website, head over to the Live Safari page, and you can submit your questions there. Oh, jump up. Please, jump up. Do it. You're going to do it. He's teasing us. Yes. So 50, you are 100% correct. This is outrageous. So sometimes what these especially male leopards, they'll go and sniff around warthog burrows, and sometimes if they smell that there's one in there, they'll actually lie above the entrance. And when the warthogs come out, they quickly pounce on the poor warthog. Hello, boy. Okay, you might see the front of the car now. Yeah, that's him, man. Yeah, that's epic. That's so cool to see him again. I'd say it's so cool for me to see him again after last seeing him at Singita. He's entering a tough part of his life as a male leopard. He's going to have to come and carve out a territory here. Undoubtedly, he's going to have to fight off existing males in the area. But I think while he's active like this, we definitely want to stay with him. Could produce some gold this morning. Yes, they just vanish, eh? But I imagine he's going to go to that termite mound now. He's already on it. Check that out. Oh. No way. What a vantage point. When he looks back like that. LT, I met him at Singita when he was a little cub. That was the first time I got to see him, which was very, very cool. He's using that termite mound as a vantage point. So one, he's smelling to see if there's any warthogs in the burrows, but also when he's up there on that high point, he'll be able to scan and see if there's any antelope that are potentially walking through this area this morning. I'm just going to call this in on the radio to let the other vehicles know that we found him. Station's located at Male Leopard. He's northwest of the junction with Aubrey's Road, and Vuyatela access is in the block. General direction's been north.
Okay, copy.
It is a great view from here. I would love to see that from the front. But that's not going to happen. Make sure you don't roll off here. So while we try to stay with this leopard, go have a look at the weather across the locations this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Look at the very scenic, mysterious views in front of us here at Treehouse Dam. Isn't it just beautiful? Glad to hear Tavangumi's back in town. And I'm not sure if Johnsy actually told you already, but we had a huge storm last night. First things first, my name is Lauren, and I do have dog on camera with me today. And yes, we had a storm. Thunder, lightning, and extremely heavy rain. I can't believe it. Very, very unusual for winter. I have to say, a summer storm is one thing, but a winter storm, it was very cold. I dived straight into my bed. The boys didn't, you know, but bed was the place to be last night. So yes, the weather is obviously still clearing up. You can see the clouds. Sun is going to burst through, but the ground is still wet. We're just going to make it extremely hard to track, but I have already checked the hyena dam. Oh dear, it's not active. But you know, one day it will be active. Patience pays off, and last night it was so lovely to see at least a few members of the clan. In infrared, it's not ideal, but I think they have fully shifted to become nocturnal. Sleep away the day inside the den, and of course at night time, because it is so cold, they'll be mobile, they'll be warm, they'll be generating heat from their muscles. They're mammals, after all. The more they move, the warmer they'll get. So I think they've just shifted their pattern, which is normal, but I have to say I do miss them. So my plan is just to bumble and see what we can find. We can hear lions calling, but again, sound travels a little bit differently when it's cold. The sound can sound like it's closer than it actually is. So I'm going to scratch around, you never know. But they may not be on our property. It's definitely worth checking out. So I say we bumble. What do you think, Owen? As we're looking at some upside down trees. Gotta love a reflection. I think we're going to go that road, cover all our bases in the south. I always choose the south. I think the southern part of this reserve is definitely my favourite. There we go. The south is very productive for me. You've got Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, you've got the sort of Mulwati, the southern side of the Mulwati. It borders onto Chitwa. I guess I'm a little bit biased and I love to spend time in the southern part of the reserve. So let's see what we can find today. We absolutely will check on the battle-eared chick at some point. I was over the moon to see it yesterday. It's developing quite the personality, and it just brought back so many fond memories of Sebwick and Olivia that we spent, all of us together, watching these for hours and hours. I've never seen my male colleagues so much. Let's take a look at that beautiful dead knobthorn here. Oh, pink clouds. There's nothing quite like pink clouds. You go down a bit, Owen, you'll see them. So we're going to go through a bit of a tricky signal patch, but we are going to send you guys over to Eric to say good morning.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry that there's some technical difficulties at Ngala. It is in the middle of nowhere after all. We are still with this leopard, trying to stay with him. He's just been sniffing around there. I just saw a glimpse of his back. He's going to come through this gap here, I think. So Darren, he's going to come from the left there. I'm just going to stop here. We've got one little window that he's hopefully going to walk through. So he's kind of been aiming from termite mound to termite mound, sniffing. I think he's seen another one in front of him there, which he may go towards. That would be cool if he does climb up it. I'm just going to start repositioning. Oh, this could be golden. It's going to happen here. Oh, there's a big hole there. He's coming over here. That's fallen over Marula. So we are going to have another vehicle joining us shortly, so you might hear another car. Oh, go on it. There's a... Get there, forwards. He went up and over already. Yeah, that would be fantastic for Juma if he can stay here. Oh, let me go forward a little bit. See how he's sniffing? Have you got him there? You can see how he's busy smelling. Another leopard may have walked there. He's just busy smelling, seeing who was there. If it's a female, he's going to be smelling potentially if she's an estrus or not. Sometimes you might see them sort of jump up on their hind legs and scratch the tree. Hey-oh. Other vehicle dealing with a log. Oh man, look at that. Oh yes. Darren, did you get the shot? Oh, that is epic. Michael, he was a very playful little cub. He provided us with some very solid sightings. His mom had him very close to the camp, so we got to see them as very young little cubs. I'm just going to reposition because he might go up on this little bough as well. I'm just hoping he's going to come around the left-hand side there. Move my hat on there. I can just see the side of his ear. was like an ultimate game of hide and seek. And when he got to sort of a year old, his mom left him in an area called Tavangumi Koppies, which is on Singita, which is that's where he got his name. So he was often found lying on top of these beautiful granite rocky outcrops. Oh, that is too funny. I love it when leopards do things like that, because they then kind of walk off as if they're meant to do that. But I reckon... That's so funny. How cool was that, seeing him jump out of the tree like that? Let's try a loop around here. So we're going to try loop through this bush and try to stay with him. We're going to head to Pete at Pinda and see what he wants to say. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning and welcome to a very chilly and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. We're watching this beautiful sunrise happening as you speak, and you can see the light just pushing through these clouds that are slowly moving away from us. We had a bit of rain last night, but it looks to be clear now. My name's Pete, and behind the camera this morning we have Johan. And we've got quite an exciting morning ahead. We're going to go look for some cheetah. We're in a lovely area where it's nice and open, and so we're hopefully going to find some cheetah that was seen yesterday afternoon. But for the time being, we're going to enjoy this beautiful sun that's just pushing through the clouds. It's awesome to see those rays there. And as we scan to the left, we can actually see there's some vegetated sand dunes just in the distance, and if those weren't there, we'd be able to see the ocean. You can see those rolling hills in the background there. So beautiful with all these different shades and all these different colors. Because we've got good signal, we're right on top of a hill, so I'm going to try and see if we can turn around and just show you guys the other side of this. The hill is really, really awesome, and I think with this light pushing through now, you guys are going to love it as much as we do. Yeah. So this area down here is where we're going to spend the morning driving around and looking for the cheetah. But how beautiful is this? It's often a spot where we take our binoculars and have a scan.
on board we have a very special guest joining our live safari today. We have Sue Fogel, who has bought a ticket to Dream.
It was an easy decision to purchase a ticket to Dream because I've been working with animals for my whole life, and I think what Wild Earth does here, bringing live safaris into your home, is just remarkable.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Well, since I've been watching for such a long time, I thought it would be a good idea for me to come here in person.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
If you have a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. To feel the sun on your face and the wind in your hair and to smell the smells and just kind of be in the animal's presence. It's undescribable. I highly recommend it.
Across Southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pangolin Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Good morning to all of the viewers and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We have come into this area to switch off and listen, and as we stopped, the scenery was just so amazing we thought we would have to show you. My name is Eric and behind camera is Mpho, and the reason why we've come into this area is because we heard via the radio that someone heard lions. They heard it from a very far way away, but they thought that they heard it somewhere around this area. So we just thought we would switch off and listen for a while and just see if we can hear anything. But how beautiful is the sky this morning? And that system that we saw last night came in just after the end of drive, and we got about 6 mils of rain, which is really unusual, like I was saying last night for this time of year. And it just seems to be the back of the system. We are hearing lots of lightning and thunder from a long way away, and leopards, it is such a beautiful view. I mean, the colors this morning, that's basically where the sun is coming up, and I think there's too many clouds for us to see it until a bit later on. But yeah, I mean, it is really, really stunning. We're just hoping that we don't get washed out this morning because we just seem to be hearing thunder, and it does sound like it's getting closer and closer. But I have just seen that we've been joined by a friend. So I'm going to reposition. There's an animal that's staring at us from a distance away. And it looks like it's quite a cool view. So let me reposition quickly. Shouldn't take too long. Just a quick little turnaround. So we in a big area. This is an airstrip that is used by one of our anti-poaching planes. And all the way down in the distance there's a giraffe that was coming to say good morning, and then it decided to turn around and walk away. And then directly behind that you can see some impala. So that's what it was doing a bit earlier on. It was stopping and staring at us, and I think it was just trying to figure out what we were doing. You know, sometimes when they behave like this and they're not looking straight at you, they're watching something that they're not very comfortable with. And because we think that there are lions in this area, we could use that giraffe to help us look. I mean, they've got such a good vantage point from being up there, so if they are motionless for an extended period of time and they're watching one spot, more often than not, you can find the predator. It does look like he's quite uneasy, but I think it's just early morning and there's lots and lots of activity around here. So there's impalas moving around, so I'm sure he might catch that motion and just try and focus in on what they're doing. And there might be some spur fowls that are moving through the grass that he could hear. And how amazing are those ears? I mean, all you can see is those white spots behind his ears when he disappears behind that bush. From here, you can see how he's constantly moving them until he looks. Now he's focused on one point. Lillian, you've asked if giraffe ever eat grass, and no, I don't think so. I mean, they basically spend their whole time feeding off of leaves from the trees in this area. There might be times where they need to feed on grass if there are no trees, but then again, you wouldn't really find giraffe in that area. So no, I don't think so. When we do see them putting their heads down into the grass, it's often to pick up an old bone. And they'll chew on that bone and they'll try and break it down, especially if it's brittle from being in the hot African sun. And they just try and do that to get extra minerals. So things like calciums and phosphates are very important to their diet. And they need to supplement them because they don't get enough of it just by feeding on leaves. And it's really cool to see, and it just gives you a perspective as to how tall the trees are around the banks of the Timbavati River. Because, I mean, that giraffe from this distance looks tiny. And it's walking amongst these huge big jackalberries. And as this giraffe is walking away into the trees, we haven't heard anything that we were wanting to hear, so we might move a few hundred meters away and stop again.
Not quite a giraffe, but an extremely tall animal deciding to make itself even taller by standing on the top of a termite mound. It's not just leopards and lions that enjoy termite mounds. Elephants do too. And I have to say, there's nothing quite like seeing a ginormous animal making itself even bigger by standing on top of a mound. And they're not the most agile of creatures. They are, of course, very cumbersome due to the nature of their heavy bodies, but yet they can manage to get themselves right up to the top of a termite mound. There just must be something very delicious up there. I don't know quite what it is, but it must be yummy. I am thoroughly loving the amount of elephants around right now. You can go through periods of not one single elephant, no signs of tracks or dung or urine patches. It just doesn't quite feel right. It took some time to get down there. I can't actually see if that's a female or a male from here. Most likely female, actually. But you do generally tend to notice a difference in elephants' behavior in winter and summer. Seasonal changes bring about changes in behavior, and I'm really curious to just see exactly how the elephants are going to behave this winter. We had water last night. We had rain. The dams are still full. Yes, the grass is mostly dead, but a lot of the trees retain their leaves. A lot of the shrubbery is still lush. It's not going to be as harsh a winter as it has been in the past. When I arrived in 2018, it was a very, very harsh winter. Not a single drop of water anywhere except the pumped pans. Not a single green leaf. Everything was barren. I don't think that's going to happen this winter. No, we haven't got the best views anymore. You can still see that one. Isn't the best views, but
Good morning and welcome to Wild Earth. We've just decided to start our walk in a little bit of a different location this morning. At the same time, we're just enjoying a beautiful view in the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance. The mountain that you see right in front of you, its name, as we mentioned already, is known as the Drakensberg. This is part of northern Drakensberg. The Drakensberg means literally the back of the dragon. However, in the Zulu culture, the name for this mountain is Umkumshlamba, which means barrier of spears, because of the high vertical cliff faces it has in some parts of Drakensberg range. The mountain literally extends all the way from the Eastern Cape right through into Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, and then Mpumalanga and into Limpopo province. The highest point that you can see on the mountain is known as Maripskop, which is approximately 1,970 something meters above sea level. It's also quite interesting little environment. I've been up there a few times, and it's very similar vegetation structure as what we would find in Cape Town in the Western Cape province. It resembles a fynbos component, and that's purely because of the high altitude at which it occurs at. It also provides some of the most breathtaking views over the Lowveld. Although if you do plan to make a trip up to Maripskop, I would definitely recommend that you use a 4x4 to get there. And if you do so, winter is always the best, as it provides some of the most beautiful views. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Craig. Our plan for this morning is to start our walk from here. We would like to go and follow up some elephant herds that we saw some signs of, and then from there on see what else we can find in the area. Meanwhile, we're just going to pan back onto the Drakensberg Mountains and just allow you enjoy that beautiful view. Just directly behind that section of the mountain, there's also the largest green canyon in the world, and which is known as the Bladder River Canyon, and it also forms the third largest canyon in the world.
Welcome back on board, everyone. We are just doing a loop around the block. Tavangumi managed to elude us in that grass, but I definitely want to try and stay with him. He seemed to be in a very playful mood this morning. And also when they're walking like that, looking in holes, it's so cool to see them active. So this block of land out on our left, that's where we last saw him. There's another vehicle in there also still trying to check where he might have gone. It's like I was saying yesterday, when this grass is still so thick, and we lost him for sort of, 10 seconds and he vanishes. But it's perfect. We'll still just keep looking, and hopefully he'll turn up basically what you do is try to drive a loop around the block. Nicanova, he did have a sibling. We're not entirely sure what happened. We presume it was maybe a hyena that might have killed the sibling. But it is quite a... You know, especially when they have two cubs, it's kind of 50-50 if one's going to make it. It's very hard for a female leopard to raise two cubs to adulthood. The cubs also so curious, they move around, and when she's got a carcass, if it's on the ground, hyenas. So he did have one, but not anymore.
Welcome back to and beyond Ngala, and look at the light that we're experiencing now. The sun has broken through the clouds and this lighting is just incredible. And one of the things that I really like about the morning after rain is that the rain settles the dust a lot, which makes the visibility amazing. And we're heading towards a really nice open clearing that overlooks the whole of Ngala onto the Drakensberg Mountains. And I haven't seen them clearly in the last couple of days because it's just quite dusty at this time of year. So we should arrive and hopefully we get a nice beautiful view. To see the mountains in the morning light when they're crystal clear is quite a sight to behold. So there's another vehicle, the vehicle that heard that male lion calling, actually heard him calling quite close to where I want to go. So we're heading in that direction to again switch off and listen, see if maybe we can find him. It sounds like he's moving, so he might be patrolling his territory and moving in such a way that we won't be able to find him, but it's still worth a shot. So I'm actually just around the corner from where I wanted to check the mountains, and I hope that they're in a good view today. This is actually a place that we bring our guests to watch the sunset, and it's pretty much occupied every single day because of the view that we get. So you almost have to fight your way into this spot for a sundowner. It's still cloudy, unfortunately. So we can just start to see the mountains, but it might take a while for this mist and the clouds to settle. So hopefully the sun burns off and I can show you this afternoon. But we'll send you across to JP and see what he's found on his walk.
Good morning and welcome back on Bushwalk. We just get a whisper. We're very close to a group of elephants that we just found on foot. At the moment, we just tucked in behind a tree that's fallen over, so both that provides us with some form of safety, as well as the wind is in our favor, so the animals can't smell us. We're just going to see what they're getting up to. Most of the time when we're watching elephants, they're almost always eating. What I find quite fascinating is that they can spend up to 19 to 21 hours of their day trying to fill themselves up with food. Now, if we think of it, plants don't really have a high nutritional value, so some of these elephant bulls might eat up to some 300 kilograms of food. I always find it quite interesting if you compare them to lions, which has got a totally different strategy, which end up spending 19 to 21 hours of the day resting to conserve energy. Very, very different strategies which these two different species have. It's always amazing for me to watch when they're busy feeding, how the trunk is always busy moving, smelling, touching, and then breaking off little pieces of branches, putting it straight into the mouth. I also find it fascinating to think that that trunk is such a useful little tool and that can do a wide range of really complex tasks. Anything from picking up a tiny little seed, tiny little leaves, putting that into the mouth, cleaning their eyes, even up to the point that they can perform complex tasks as using it for breaking things. They can also use it as a snorkel. They can use it as a hose pipe to suck up water and then put that into the mouth. That's one of the defining features of elephants, is a elongated trunk that's used like a hand. So for those of you that haven't been on the show before yet, the reason why I think that this is a group of bulls is if we look at the head profile, it's fairly round. I can't see all the members, and also with the closest one to us, we noticed that the angle between the chest and the groin is quite sloped, where in the case of a cow, that's a very straight line between the chest and the groin. Let's go and see what this one is up to. It seems as if he's breaking something there. Just going to move a little bit forward and see if we can get a better view of him. Just going to watch them from here and see what they're getting up to. So we're still on their downwind side and they're not aware of us. They're still just continuously feeding. It's amazing how you can hear them literally breaking those leaves and branches, but you cannot hear them place a footstep on the ground. They're such quiet animals for such large animals. Good morning, Darcy. Yes, it is absolutely amazing, and I just love watching elephants. They're always doing something. I'm just going to go a little bit forward and see if we can reposition. And just to show you what they're doing with the trunk and how they're breaking down the branches. This one just had a quick little nibble there. It didn't really appeal to him, and now he's moving off as well. One of the things that I find quite fascinating about elephants is that they can perform a wide range of very complex tasks. And we can also train them to do a number of different tasks. And in the past, they have been used for a number of things, including using them for war. And one of the famous stories was about Hannibal, which led a group of elephants over the Alps. And that's some 2,000 odd years ago, which they used them. However, today African elephants are seldom used, and I think the last time that elephants were used in terms of African elephants to perform tasks and work was to clear an airstrip somewhere in the 1970s, somewhere in Africa. We're going to hand you over to one of the other stations and slowly follow these guys and see what they get up to.
There's someone that wants to say good morning to you all. That's not myself. I've already done that. Oh, look at that. Can you see the wings? Wow. Okay, so when you look at the bottom of the wings, that's the primary flight feathers. And they take a while to develop in birds. It's not immediate that they develop these feathers. It naturally starts with quite a soft down, and they will eventually be replaced with the adult feathers that are a lot more rigid. And when you look at this one, you can see immediately that it's a batelier. I can't tell if it'll be male or female from here because it's not got the adult plumage. Normally when the the golden light has just appeared all of a sudden. Hello, sun. Though that last panel, if it's very, very pale grey, it's the female, naturally, and if it's very dark black, it's the male. You can already see that you're a batelier. He's like, I know I'm a batelier, Lauren. But that's just fascinating. He seems to be getting all these adult feathers. Not all feathers are the same, naturally. They perform different functions in birds. And they're normally packed with melanin. And melanin makes the feathers very rigid, very strong, especially flight feathers. If you've ever picked up a feather on the ground, a very long flight feather, then you'll know that it's got a very, very thick sort of story. This happens to me every time. And it's very difficult to snap. It's not something you can just snap in two. I am so in love with you, yes. You can see that it's just so curious of everything going on around. Every sound, every movement, every bird that flies overhead. And I mentioned yesterday about the gender sort of chapter in a book I'm reading. It's a fantastic book, and if you don't know the sex of an animal, mix it up. So I'm going to sometimes call it a he and sometimes call it a she, because we don't know at this stage. Oh, it's so lovely, and he's getting quite high up from his nest now. I remember the day he was very, very much not moving from that warm, toasty nest. Red, you're saying very impressive bird, I know. For a juvenile, very, very impressive. I think we can get a little bit closer, Owen. I think he's only coming up for 10 weeks now. Oh, yes. He's showing you how impressive he is. You see that? He's listening. And that's preparation for flight. I think Trishala saw him fly a little, but I don't believe he's really flying far at this stage. But he's definitely preparing those muscles, stretching those wings. That's really, really important in chicks, to stretch their wings. It's not just a random stretch like humans do. It's very important for their development, getting ready for flight. I mean, flight's a pretty big thing. All of a sudden finding yourself in the air. Soaring. Ooh. And juvenile bateliers are fantastic in that they really don't look too much like the adult. You can get confused, especially when they are in flight. Oh, that was brave. I wouldn't quite call that flight, but we're getting there. You can see she's thinking, these things on the side of my body are very powerful. I don't quite know what to do with them, but very powerful. She wants to move. Then the parental care is completely dropped. They're still around, you still see the adults, but the parental attendance is actually the better term. It's completely dropped. I mean, it's self-feeding by 6 weeks. And I think we're at 9-10 weeks, but it's just a guess. It's round about the 3-month mark that it makes its first big flight, but returns to... Oh, we're getting so brave. Oh, this is a highlight of my day, I tell you. We're really thinking about it, aren't we? We're thinking about just soaring. Oh. Oh. She's a little bit unsure. Oh. It's amazing that we can capture all of this on camera and show you. Oh, and is this your first time meeting the chick? Oh. This is just too adorable. I think I'm going to sit here a little bit longer and watch our gorgeous battalier chick.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
I love being a camera for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effects down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the #1 aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
We managed to find those male lions, and it's not one, it's 2, which is amazing. And they're on the road and they're walking, so I'm just wanting to try get ahead of them so I can show you walking them down, or show them to you as they're walking down the road. I hope this will be far enough. Yeah, it should be okay. They are looking really nice, and they're on a mission. They are walking around quite quickly. I hope the bar's not going to get in the way here. But look at that, and look at that one's lip. It's got a really fresh cut on it. And then his brother is just walking past us now. So we've just been surrounded by 2 male lions. It was such an amazing feeling. And I think what was happening is they were looking for one another. That's why Dyke was hearing one calling from one and another calling from another direction, and they were looking for each other and eventually managed to find each other. Because as we got here, we saw them walking up to one another and rubbing heads and just greeting one another. Okay, should we try this again? Oh. So they must have been on a territorial patrol sometime last night and they split up, and this is just them rejoining. And I guess from here, they'll still be marking their territories. It's getting late on in the morning, so to hear them calling will be quite lucky. Oh, look at that. And what I find incredible is how these two males just seem to be getting better with age. I mean, that one on the left is looking slightly skinnier. But there they go, straight past the vehicles. And just look at the color of the top of their manes. One's incredibly dark, it's all black in color. And one is a lot more tawny. Okay, let's try and get another view of them. I think one of the nicest things about working here in Ngala is that every game drive vehicle is from and beyond, and so we know each other really well and we work together very well as a team. So what we'll be doing is just leapfrogging one another. So I've got my turn in front. There's some impalas that have just been surprised by these males. And then once we've had a good long view, we'll switch out and go to the back and let the other one have a view. But it's quite nice to see them walking like this because, I mean, you can just see how much fuller this one at the back is. He looks thicker, he looks stronger, slightly better condition. That one in the front with the slightly tawnier mane is, you can see it's quite a lot skinnier. And I'd love to have been here and just to have been able to follow them throughout the whole night. I'm going to switch off here and just let them go past. So cheeks, with a few things that I've been pointing out, and especially the size, this one here at the back is the more dominant one than the other one. And it tends to happen with male lions. The darker the mane, the more dominant, or the more testosterone they have within their body. So the one at the back, since we've known him, and since they've been on the property, he's been the dominant one. And you can tell in his behavior. I'm going to start up again so you might see a quick little camera shake. But you can tell when watching them. I mean, now it almost seems like the blonde one is leading him away. But as soon as there's any sort of confrontation, this dark-maned one is very dominant over his brother. Oh. Okay, so these males are now heading down into a very tricky area, so this might be the last view of them. So whilst I try and see if we can follow them, let's see if we can send you across to Lauren with the Battalier chick.
You will not believe what just happened. She caught something. Something must have been on the tree. I'm guessing a lizard or a gecko or... Don't really think you're going to find... He's eating! He just jumped down. I wouldn't maybe quite say flew down. That's a bit of a overstatement. Jumped down and caught whatever was on the tree. Ah, what is that? What is that, everyone? I wish we could identify what it is. It could also be a snake, I guess, but it's very, very cold for a snake to be in a tree, so I think it has to be a small bird or a reptile. Wow. He or she is self-feeding. Pushed to independence very young by mom and dad. Because they have to. Can't stay in the nest all cozy and warm, being fed every single day. Got to learn how to survive in the big bad world.
Ja, Fender.
That was truly amazing. I really wonder, maybe it was a small bird. Did you catch that name, old dog? You didn't get that name, but you're saying a meal delivered to your door. How lovely. Takeaway, takeout. Uber Eats. Oh yeah. But literally it must have just spotted something and flew right down and obviously caught it. It's such a great thing to witness. Every bird call, every flutter, and this little guy is very much alert. Trying to understand its environment, and going back to the topic of yesterday, phenomenology, he has to understand what's going on around him through his own perceptions. Battaliers are highly, highly visual, as with most raptors, so vision is going to be their primary sense. Whereas you take a leopard, chemicals, but sort of smelling or tasting the chemicals in the air is their primary sense. But battaliers can see very small objects from remarkably high in the sky, and that's how they hunt. That's how they swoop in first to get their food. So this little guy is going to be learning what is movement, what's happening around, what is going on, who's making that noise. Oh my goodness, where are we going now? Far too adventurous this morning. And now we can't see you. Oh, we can see you, just not very well. And the sun's slowly starting to pop out, which is wonderful. I think we all need to warm up here. Lisa, they only lay one egg. It's a very high level of maternal and paternal care. So what that means is that I'm going to keep watching, see if we get any more views on. And that means that they'll have less offspring. And therefore, they only have one egg, and there's a really, really high level from both mom and dad. So they won't perform the same functions. They won't do the same things. Obviously, mom incubates more than dad, and mom does most of the feeding. She'll tear up the prey, but dad does a lot of the guarding, the security, and the hunting. He's the one that brings the food back. It's mostly snakes. Passes it to mom. Mom will tear it up into small little chunks and feed the chick. So it really, really sort of depends on the species. The more eggs, the harder it is to give individual parental care. So with battaliers, they only lay one egg. And this is, of course, the one that's survived and clearly thriving. Still eating. I just want to make sure we get all the views we can in case it pops up again. Sometimes I drive past here multiple times a day and there's no view. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what we want to see. We don't get to see you every day, do you? Many of you are enjoying this. I know it's incredible. We're not staying still. We're on a mission. There's lots to do today. much, I don't know if you can notice, using the feet. Not quite relaxed enough to rely entirely on the wings. So she can clearly realize that her wings are powerful. They're getting her somewhere. Something's happening here, but not relaxed enough or sure enough yet to rely on them. And it's very much... Oh! Is that another bird? Can we zoom into the nest, Owen? I thought I saw another bird there. Maybe I'm going crazy. Oh yes, Mum's there. I thought I saw another bird. It might not be Mum. Oh, this is so lovely. We've not seen them interact yet. Just on the right-hand side, the adult battler. No, hold that frame on. It's perfect. It's either Mum or Dad. Oh, how lovely. There we go. I wonder if it is Mom. Just hidden by that sort of right fork in the tree there. But that's the first time I've seen this juvenile and an adult on the nest in quite some time. You see that? You just see a head there. I hope it's not stealing her breakfast. It's in the exact same spot, so it's a possibility. It's definitely one of the parents. I just don't know if it's Mum or Dad, but you can obviously tell with battle ears. Oh. At least we know they still interact. Mom still sits on this tree instead of the dead leadwood behind us. How lovely. Oh. Is Mum or Dad stealing your breakfast? That's terrible. Tlalamba knows all about that. And you can see Mum or Dad. I do think it is a female, but that red face, that unmistakable red face, it's definitely the adult coloration. And you can see how the juvenile is completely different. It would take a long time for the little youngster here to develop those colors and the adult plumage. I didn't think this sighting could get any better, but it just has. Mum and Dad are rarely far away, and because they are highly visual, as I mentioned, they remain in visual contact with one another. Not audio contact like your cats or smelling one another. They remain in visual line of sight. Mom and Dad are always keeping their eyes on this little one. Well, actually, not so little. Oh, look at this. She's like, this is my nest. No. Oh, my goodness. Okay, this sighting is getting better and better. No one sits in my nest. And did you see the size comparison there? Okay, it was quite brief. Oh, adults away. It was very brief, but there was quite the size difference there. I mean, you can see.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We've just lost Juma there for a few seconds and we're not sure what has happened there. But with this weather, we never know what kind of technical problems they can have. So right over here at the moment, I just wanted to point out this branch of a raisin bush which was left by one of the elephants that we were following. He simply just broke this off with his trunk, and then what he did is he pulled it through his molar teeth, and you can see how it's damaged now. And the only thing that they were after was this thin little outer layer of bark that was on the around the inner bark. And this has got no nutritional value for them. That's why it's been discarded. I also find it quite interesting that with the molar teeth, that they've got a number of molars. There's normally one and a little bit that's sticking out. But over the entire lifetime, they've got 6 of these sets of molars on each jaw, both upper, lower, left and right, which will assist with feeding and breaking down food. And unlike antelopes, which normally has a more circular motion when they're grinding down their food, with the elephant it's a forward-backward motion of also often grinding the food pieces in the mouth before they swallow it. It's also with the elephants, they've got a single large stomach, unlike the ruminants such as the antelopes. That's why they've got this incredibly coarse dung, and that's why we find these coarse fibers of the bark and other pieces of plant material going through there. And as mentioned earlier in the show, they've got a very ineffective digestive system where they only absorb some 40% of what they eat. And quite often we find fruits and seeds that's been passed through the stomach. And they also play a very important role in that way in distributing those seeds and also quite often in assisting with germinating those seeds. Is to come back to the molar teeth. So around by the age of 60, when the last set of molars are eventually worn out, and that's when they can't feed successfully any longer. You generally see them that they start losing body condition, and you can even see it in their dung. One of the things I also find quite interesting is when it comes to thorny plants, with a lot of spines or thorns when they feed on that, they've got another strategy, and I'm just going to show you what they do. This is a trunk, they'll break off. Very simply, they'll put their foot on it, and they will strip all the thorns off, flatten them, and then bring it to the mouth, and then strip off the outer layer of the bark, so that the thorns can't harm them when they're busy feeding. We're going to see if we can catch up with these guys. They're moving quite quick, so it's been a little bit tricky to stay with them. And let's go and see what they're doing. It's fairly easy to find them because they've actually left a wake of destruction in terms of leaving plant remains and branches all over the veld. As we walk on, we're just going to hand you over to Lauren. Go and see what she's up to.
Sorry about that, everyone. Our camera battery just decided that it's had enough. It doesn't want to work anymore. It doesn't feel like being a battery. Luckily, we had a spare, so apologies about that. That was it still is such a wonderful sighting, and I'm so glad we managed to capture it all happening. I'm not quite sure what she's doing now. But she did not want Mom or Dad sitting on her nest. They made the nest. They gave it to her. But no. No one sits on this nest apart from little chick here. Chickadee. We probably should come up with a nice neutral name for it. Oh, it was so wonderful. Sorry, Elton, one more time with that question. I was too busy trying to figure out what this little chick is doing. have no idea. I have never been in the nest, I'm afraid. I've never been invited, which is rather sad. I do love climbing trees, although I always have an issue about getting down. Ravi watches me, lets me get all the way up, and then says, how are you going to get down now, Lauren? But I think so, yes. We saw Mum and Chick. We had a wonderful sighting together once. I think it's quite a large nest, nestled in the fork of that knobthorn. It looks very, very messy from the outside, but I can assure you on the inside it'll be lined with soft vegetation and down and feathers, and it'll be very, very warm. I'm not sure the three of them could fit in it, be it Mom, Dad, and Chick. But it's definitely, because it is placed in that fork, that will help support a lot of the weight of the birds. And of course, 2 moving birds is definitely not going to be, well, they're not exactly light, shall we say. They are heavy birds. They come in at around, or the adults at least, 2.25 kilograms. You can imagine all of that sort of weight moving around on the nest. But Mom and Chick can definitely fit in, I think. Chick just doesn't want that, Debbie. I wonder if it's having a little nap now after eating whatever delightful dish one had for breakfast. I think that may be our sighting over for today. How wonderful. It's been such a great morning all round, and we are going to send you over to Mr. Jaunty with Mr. Tavangumi.
Look how lucky we are. Sabelo, legend from Cheetah Plains, managed to find Tavangumi again. Unfortunately, in a place where we have signal. Let me try and stay with it, but that was so awesome, him up on the termite mound like that. Let's try keep a closer eye on him this time so we don't lose him again. It's amazing. Before we came back, he actually surprised, looked like a small duiker. Let's see here, can you get him through this patch there, Darren? He's just walking in front of us there. I was just saying, he just surprised a duiker just before we got back on air. He actually chased it, a short little chase, but the duiker got away. So he's definitely on the lookout for a little snack. This is so awesome to just see a male leopard walking through the bush like this. Awesome to see him walking like that through the grass. I think we're going to try and do a loop around. Hopefully our signal stays strong enough. Let's see what happens. Go up this way.
Helping kids to fall in love with nature is critical. Our future depends on it. Wild Earth has had the opportunity to take many children from all over the world on safari, some from right here on our doorstep.
Welcome to those of you watching from Hananani. primary school just outside Dixie Village.
They love like learning about nature because now we're having like a crisis of like rhino poaching. We all need each other, so it is very, very important for the kids to learn about animals, on how to save them or even to protect them.
My favorite animal is an elephant because they are very cute, although they're eating the trees or the plants, but they are still very cute to me.
The way they explained the animals, asking questions, and we saw our names on the screen, it was so exciting.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed. We've left our little chickadee. I'm just quickly listening to an update on the radio.
Yeah, I'll say my name. I just have to be close to him.
I do not know what they are saying, so we shall try. Everybody is looking for Miss Tandy this morning, so I think we're going to go into that area and also scratch around. Now, a few of you were asking about Torchwood. We can traverse Torchwood 100%. We can traverse Buffelshoek, Simbambili, but our signal is just a little bit tricky sometimes on Torchwood. But we absolutely can go in there. It's so wonderful not having to say the animal crossed out and we're not able to follow. Remember those days? We had to stop at the boundary line. Now we can absolutely go in. But I saw some of you were asking about that, so I just sort of planned for it. Whew. Sun, why are you not warming us up yet? Why? This way. Okay, I'm going to decide which way I actually want to go and we're going to send you guys over to Pinda.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, everyone, where we managed to find this female cheetah and her 3 little cubs. I'm not sure if you can see just to the left of her. She's got 3 little cubs hiding in the grass there. And just a few moments ago, we actually heard her trying to call the cubs because there usually are 5 cubs altogether. And apparently there were reports of the 2 south male cheetah, the dominant males from the south, in this area. And they wouldn't have been the father of the cubs, so I'm a bit worried that they may have split up the cubs for the time being, and I hope they haven't done any harm to those other 2 cubs that aren't here. You can see how closely those cubs are all lying together. It'll be to keep each other warm, but also just because they've had maybe a bit of a tough morning, they might just be comforting each other as well. See Mom just been grooming herself, yawning again. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets up and maybe does a little bit of a patrol around the area to go and look for those other 2 cubs. Look, you can see she's quite concerned. She's looking around. Every little noise, she'll stop and look in that direction. See that beautiful, there we go, she's heard something there. You can see how she's just being so observant, so vigilant. We heard some alarm calls, some baboon alarming just to the right hand side in the direction where she's looking now. Heather, if they weren't the fathers of the cubs, they would try and kill the cubs so that they could then mate with the female. Because once her cubs, if the cubs were to die, she'd go straight back into estrus and be ready to mate with. So, if the males, listen now. Sorry, that was just the sound. Listen. So that's just the sound of Mum trying to contact the remaining cubs. And it's a sound that many people haven't actually heard. It's quite an unusual sound. Really concerned for where her cubs are. I can hear those alarm calls still in the background there. I wonder if those are those male cheetah that are moving off. But it's also, there have been lions in this area too, so it could be multiple things that those baboons are alarming at. But Heather, back to your question, they would want to get rid of the cubs so that the mom would go back to the estrus, and then they would get their genetics out through this female. Similar to lions or leopards, they will do the same thing. But this mom won't want to leave these 3 cubs now to pursue the other 2. So if she does go and look for them, these cubs will follow right behind her. Kiwi, they will never wander off just by themselves. They know the dangers that are out there, and they would have known that from quite a young age. So if mom were to leave the cubs, she would leave them all together. And the only time that they would get separated is when something caused them to get separated. Maybe lions chased them or some threat came in and chased them. But you can see those 3 that are just lying together now. They're lying really, really close together, just comforting each other, and that's exactly what would happen if Mom were to leave them. So they'd stay in a nice, secure little spot like this and wait for Mom to come back. It does happen quite often that Mum might lose a cub or two and roam around and find them. Sometimes you'll see a cheetah with 5 cubs one day, then 3 cubs the next, and then you get really worried, and then 2 days later she's found them again. So we're really hoping that that will be the case today as well. So we're going to sit here with this female and hope that she gets moving and finds the cubs. In the meantime, we're going to send you off to Jonty, who's got some other spots for you guys.
Wow, that sounds like a magical sighting of cheetah there. But we've fortunately got Tavangumi again. He's doing some modelling. Looks like for a Land Cruiser shoot. So there's a vehicle driving behind the back of him. And in the modern world, people can't pass up the opportunity for a selfie with a leopard in the background. So we're busy getting a demonstration on how to take a perfect selfie. But we've just gone in nice and tight on the leopard. He's being quite obliging, having a look at them, taking his picture in the background. But he's been walking around a lot this morning, and sort of we drove around in circles 3 times, and then, so like I said earlier, Sabelo must have some sort of leopard sense, because he actually found him not far from where we lost him. And now he's just enjoying on the space of this small sort of mound, enjoying a bit of sun on him. There we go, that's better. Because the grass is still wet this morning. So it'd be quite nice for him to lie there and just enjoy that sun drying him off a little bit. Oh man, look at that. It's interesting, he's having a look. That vehicle that just drove off now is an electric car. And it makes a slightly different sound. That's what made him kind of get up and look back. Yeah, this is definitely a supermodel. At the moment, he's hitting all the right poses. But we are right on the cusp of where we get signal, and I don't want him to move. So it looks like he's going to settle down there. Have a bit of sun on his back. We're just going to enjoy this spot as well with Tavangumi. You're going to head over to JP and see what he's got up to on his little bushwalk.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands. We're still out on bushwalk and we're admiring the handiwork of our 3 elephant bulls, which we were following earlier this morning. You've already looked at a number of their field signs, which included pieces of branches that they have discarded. Here you can see where they were actually stripping the bark away to get to the inner bark, which is known as a cambium, which is where all the nutrients and minerals is. Now, quite often what happens is if they will ring bark the entire circumference of a tree, the tree will eventually die. We see also porcupines doing a very similar behavior by ring barking trees when they gnaw all the way around the bark. And eventually the tree has no ability to transport nutrients to and from the leaves and back to the roots. There's a few interesting things that we want to point out. What we also found is these right over here. This is where the elephant has been chewing, and this has been discarded. I haven't often seen this. It's probably the second time that I've actually seen this as a feeding sign that's been left behind by elephant. Obviously, they were a little bit messy in their feeding techniques. So we've also been playing a little bit. We've been unraveling these long pieces of string that you can see over here in its form. And then we also played with taking a few of these pieces, and what we were doing is we were making some rope. For some reason, since I've been a kid, I love playing in the bush. I love making the rope, and I like making bows and arrows and all kinds of tools. So there's our first ring that we want. And building little forts and all kinds of other stuff. We didn't have a lot of materials to play with as kids, so we sometimes got what we had out of the bush to play with. So just to show you, I've made a piece of rope over here, and I've actually plaited 3 strands of this to form an incredibly strong piece of rope. And I've just been asked by Craig, how strong is it? He and I had a little bit of a game of tug of war, and none of us could break it. Just to show you over here, incredibly strong rope. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over back to Lauren, see what she has on offer there.
I am on fire, everybody. We've just got the African hawk eagle making his nest. Look. Oh, goodness, I did not anticipate this to be a birding morning, but it's happened that way. I have not seen an African hawk eagle in quite some time. It's a real joy to see this bird, a true eagle, not a snake eagle like the batelier. And it's fairly common all year round resident. It's not a migrant, but look, it's building the nest. I'll need to mark this nest, and we are going to come every single day. It's on Central. You know me, once I know that there's a bird nest. The nest is built by both sexes. And they're winter breeders. One of the few sort of species here that do breed in winter. So they can lay anywhere between April to August, and obviously it's now June, and it's very much sort of the nest building stage. Wow. Imagine seeing some African hawk eagle chicks. They normally lay between 1 and 2 eggs, on average 1. And it's, again, these are average figures, but a 44-day incubation period. Oh, wow. This is just too fantastic. I think it's so wonderful, you know, these organisms do not have hands, they don't have arms, and yet they're able to build a nest, build a structure that keeps their young. Can you hear something, Owen? Yeah, I also thought I heard something. This is really special, everyone. Now, they do use nests continuously for up to 18 years. 18 years they can use the same nest if it's not completely destroyed. So I haven't ever seen chicks in this nest before, but this gives me another bird for me to become an auntie to. This is fabulous. This morning keeps on getting better, and for now we're going to send you across to Tavangumi.
The eastern Porchwood on the fire break, just north of Nkoro.
Welcome back with a very sleepy Tavangumi. So I'm just going to speak on the radio. Copied, thank you very much. So he's been stretching. And now it looks like he's settling into a good morning nap. Showing us very nicely there on his top row of whiskers. You can see the 2 spots on that right side. And if my memory is correct, he should have 2 spots on the other. So he's a 2-2. But you'll see those facial markings. So those spots are the one way that we recognize these leopards. Donica, they will, you'd say a sort of leopard, a male leopard would be in its prime. By the time he's sort of 7 or 8, that should be when he's really dominant. But they can breed a little bit younger, 4 or 5, but normally in that sort of stage, they're still being outcompeted by the more dominant males. I saw Tumba, sort of, he must have been about 3.5, close to 4, showing interest in the Mabeni female. But at that stage there was still a more dominant male in the area. And so I don't think he was successful in mating then. So I would have said closer to 5 would have been the earliest that they would probably start. So we're not far from an area called Sandy Patch, which often has a lot of impala in it. You see his ears, even though he's lying down with his eyes closed. His ears are constantly picking up sound. I just heard some impala making that rutting sound in the distance, and his ears pricked up. And something caught his attention, that sound. And when the impalas are rutting, during that period, the leopards kill a lot more male impala during that time because they're so focused on busy fighting each other. And they lose a lot of condition, so they kind of almost become a bit weak at the end of the rut. And the male leopards and female leopards, for that matter, definitely take advantage of that. So is he also a tutu on this side? Darren, if you zoom in on his muzzle. Yeah. I was just going to say, he's also got two little scars on the bridge of his nose. So as the males get older, they're going to have some sort of encounters with other leopards, and they end up getting scars and things, so we can recognize them from those sort of facial markings. I noticed yesterday Maripskop has a very prominent white patch on his shoulder, which I'll have to remember next time I see him. Look at that coat. It's unbelievable. It is amazing. You can see why people would have wanted that coat for clothing and things. But it definitely looks better on the leopard. We're just going to stay here with him and enjoy the morning while he's having a snooze.
The annual Safari Guide of the Year competition aims to create awareness for those men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. This year's event will be held at Maripskop, a breathtaking privately managed section of the Marikele National Park in South Africa's Limpopo province. In celebration of this, Wild Earth and Maripskop Luxury Lodges are offering all explorers a chance to win a 3-night stay at Maripskop Safari Lodge for you and a friend. In addition to a spectacular land-based safari, Maripskop Luxury Lodges offer an opportunity for guests to cruise peacefully along the Matlabas River, watching the animals as they drink and wallow. The lodge offers you a chance to lie by the pool or enjoy a spa treatment, and one night could be spent sleeping out under the stars in a luxurious treehouse. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the 30th of June, and it could be you heading off on a long-awaited getaway. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, everyone. Where Mom's just got it moving now. She got up, she was grooming. Sorry guys, I just got to update everyone here quickly. Ja, even Sibu. Negative, 3 still. So these cubs have just started to move now in the direction of where she was looking earlier. And we're a little bit concerned, but hopefully she's now moving towards where those cubs are, or where she last had them. The alarm calls have stopped, and another ranger was actually checking just in the area where those alarm calls were, and he said the grass is really long, and he saw tracks of one cub going in there. So hopefully she's heading in that direction to try and find the cubs again. It's going to be quite tough to follow them through here, especially with reception, but I don't want to lose them. So I'm going to see if we can try and keep up with them and just see if she does lead us back towards that cub, I hope and pray. Excuse the squealing wheel, we drove through a bit of dust and sometimes we're going to carry on trying to keep up with the cheetah, and we're going to send you off to Ngala for the meantime.
Welcome back to Ngala. Sorry, I was just trying to listen to the radio there for a second. We've come down into the riverbed and seen tracks of a female leopard not too far away from us. There's a confluence just behind us, one of the major confluences within the western part of the reserve. So we thought we would come here and just see if we can figure out where she might have gone. And I think probably after the rains, what she was doing is walking along the bank of the river and scent marking. So we'll see. I mean, okay, so whilst we look for a leopard of our own, let's go catch up with Jonty's leopard.
Well, good luck, Eric. I hope you have some success. Tavangumi's still just being a legend and lying out in the open. I was just saying now to Darren and Davy how ridiculous it is that we can sit here with him and he's just sleeping. You know, these are such secretive animals, but we really spoiled to be led into their lives here at Djuma and some of the other properties. It just goes to show how sort of hard work and patience and persistence allows us to sit next to these incredible animals. You can see those really long whiskers. They work like feelers at the night when they're moving through the bush. If they extend their whiskers, if the leopard's walking and it can feel its whiskers can fit through a gap, it will know that its whole body can actually fit through that same gap. Clyde, that is a good question. A leopard is much more stocky built. I'm just going to dig in my bag. You might hear some ruffling. I want to see if I've got a mammal book in here to show you a picture of the differences. But, a cheetah is built for speed. So, that's the wrong book. That's awesome. So a cheetah is built for speed. It's got a much smaller head, much longer, slender legs. It's got really big back feet, and their claws are permanently out. but one of the biggest sort of differences, if you look on the face, the cheetah's got two black lines that come down sort of inside the eyes, down to towards the nose. The leopard doesn't have those spots. And as you can see, as Tabangumi's looking at us there, he's got a much more solid head, much bigger neck. It's a very different hunting and killing style. The leopards will ambush their prey and then overpower it and go for a sort of a throat bite, whereas cheetahs will chase their prey down at ridiculous speed and actually ankle tap it and trip it and then go for the throat. If you look at the claws as well, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but leopards have retractable claws, whereas the cheetah has, its claws are permanently out, like it almost looks like a dog's foot, and that's to help them when they're running at those incredible speeds. But I don't know if you want to come on to me here, onto this page here. So this is a picture of a cheetah. So you can see those black lines that I was talking about coming down the face. A much smaller head. You can see the whole muzzle's much smaller. And then a very big noticeable difference. If you look at the coat, you can see that the cheetah has solid spots, where Tabangumi over here on the termite mound, he's got beautiful rosettes. And there we're down showing the tail. Cheetahs also have a very, very thick tail. It works like a rudder when they're running at high speed. You'll see if the cheetah's turning left, the tail will be hanging out on the right-hand side, and then vice versa. We're going to head over to Pinda, where they've got some cheetah, and then you'll be able to see some of the differences that we were just talking about now.
Welcome back, everyone. We were expecting Mom to move a little bit further than she did. She probably only moved about 40 meters and found a little bit more of a shady spot here. But you can see those cubs all cuddled up nicely now. I think she won't be able to move too far at once with these cubs. They're still quite young and they get tired quite easily. As you can see, that one looks very, very comfy on Mom's arm there. You can see all of their eyes closed now. So because she's got these two cubs that are quite vulnerable still, obviously, and being a cheetah herself, she is quite vulnerable to other predators. So she's going to be napping like this and then opening her eyes every now and then, having a scan around, see what's out and about. And the cubs will be learning from her, knowing that they've got to be quite vigilant, scanning their surroundings every now and then. You can see the one cub's not quite as tired as the rest. Such a cute little face. With those fluffy hair all around his face. And you can see how well they blend into the grass around them. And one of the reasons they've got all that fluff on them and that long hair behind their backs, on their backs, is because when mom's denning, she's got to leave them sometimes for quite a long time, and they often den in long grass or in grassy areas, so they blend in quite well to their surroundings. Even now with this long grass, it looks very, very similar. Crazy clown. Yeah, it is crazy, and after seeing the leopard cub last night, we're so lucky to be seeing all these cubs at the moment. Really, really special. Looks like they are very, very content with where they are now. When they were standing up earlier, they had quite full bellies, and they'd either been suckling or they've had a carcass, but mom's belly is not so full, so I would suspect that it's probably from drinking a bit of milk. At this stage, they'll still be having a bit of milk and a bit of meat, so mixing it up. But if there is a carcass around, they'll definitely take in as much as they could. We're going to carry on sitting here and hope that something might change in terms of the other cubs coming back, but we're going to send you off to Pangolins in the meantime, who've got some elephants for you guys.
Good morning and welcome back on Bushwalk. We just located another breeding herd of elephant. Seems that our activity is a little bit better this morning than yesterday. If we have a look over here, right in front of us is an elephant with its trunk up in the air, trying to break off a little branch. It looks like a marula, but it's stripping there. However, there's no fruits on the tree at the moment. They will still feed on the leaves. If I look at the size of the number of different elephants in this group, the one that has just broken that branch is most likely the matriarch. And we can also see, if we look at the front part of the forehead, that there's like little copules that are forming, those sunken in holes, which generally indicates that it's quite an older female. For those of you that don't know, the matriarch is the one that's responsible for leading the group. She makes the decisions where they'll go, where they'll feed, where they will drink, and a number of other things. As that she becomes older, and when she gets to a point where she is too old to lead the group, she'll generally hand over that responsibility to her oldest daughter in the group. Young males, they only stay in the group up till approximately 12 to 15 years, and then they get the boot, and they have to go and join the all-boys group, and they can get up to their own mischief. So I'm going to step a little bit back, but we're just going to get a little bit of a better view. There's an incredibly young elephant that's coming through, and then there's another one that's even smaller than he is. You can see that the elephant is just walking towards a smaller one that's directly in front of him onto his right-hand side now. I find it quite often interesting with these young little elephants that they play a lot with their trunks, and they sometimes need to work out how to use it, especially under 6 months of age. They still struggle, and they don't really have a use for it up to that point, as that they're still on milk. But thereafter, when they start feeding on solids, they're going to start using that trunk. Sometimes they just sit and spin their head in a circle, and they will spin the trunk around as well, just to try and figure out and doing what they must do with it. Let's maybe come back onto the matriarch. She's going to break down another branch there. Sometimes it's pretty amazing to watch them, that they can even raise themselves up on their hind feet. There the branch goes. Let's watch what she does. We'll see now how she's going to strip off those leaves. We've also just been joined by another breeding herd of elephant on the opposite side of the dam wall. I'm just going to reposition that we can show to you. There's at least one. It looks like 16, 17 elephants over there. I'll just get Craig to count them. I do. I asked him last time if he just doesn't mind to count the amount of feet and divide by 4, because then we always have an accurate answer. No, I'm just teasing about that. It just gets... there we go. If we have a look on the opposite side, there's another matriarch in that group, and as far as I understand, it's the one with a keyhole shape pattern on the ear, which is on the far left-hand side of the group. Very prominent keyhole pattern by which you can identify a number of young calves all tucked in between that group. One that's coming towards the left now as well. Yeah, good morning. Yes, it's definitely an elephant gathering, and it seems if they all come alive at the moment. We didn't really expect any elephants at the dam because it rained so much last night that there's sufficient amount of puddles all over the veld for them to drink from, and we were very, very surprised when we found the first breeding herd and now this second breeding herd over here as well. Where elephants can, they'll generally come and drink daily, but they can go for up to 5 or so days without water. And especially in arid environments, they often have to cover incredibly big distances between water bodies and the areas where they feed. And for those of you that have joined us for the first time, if you are curious about how much water an elephant can drink, that's generally somewhere between 120 and 160 litres of water a day. But that's going to be entirely dependent on the size of the individual. Obviously, a young little elephant calf is not going to be able to consume as much water. They're very dependent on water, firstly, to keep themselves hydrated, but they also use it for cooling themselves down under extremely warm conditions. And you'll normally see them coming down towards a dam and then pouring water all over their bodies, or going to swim even on a regular occurrences. There's another elephant coming in from the distance. It seems that we're going to have at least 3 or 4 more elephants making their way into the area.
Welcome back, everyone. We're still just sitting here with these cheetah, and the one cub has just gone and lay straight on Mom's tummy. You can see it quite closely. I wonder if that's the favorite. I wonder if they do have favorites. But yeah, so sweet to see them all cuddled up like this. You can see how close their bond is at the moment. But in about a year's time, maybe just over a year, these cubs will go off and leave Mom. And the male cubs, we don't really know what sex they are just yet, but the male cubs will go off together, and the females will go off by themselves and start roaming around the reserve. At this stage of their life, Mom is trying to show them the reserve as much as possible, teach them about all the different areas that there are, and that's actually when they are a little bit, well, probably most at danger, because when they're moving around so much, the chance of them coming across other predators is quite high. See when Mom rubbed her head inside the grass there, the one cub got a bit of a fright. The one cub just grooming itself a little bit. Seems like maybe there's some grass seeds or something caught inside its paw that is just trying to get out. But this mother's actually done incredibly well. It's her first litter that she's had, and to have at this stage, I know there are only 3 here, but we believe that all 5 are still alive, and to have raised 5 cubs to the age of about 5 months, and the first time around she's done really well. The cub success rate is not great with Cheetah. Nice little yawn there. That cub in the background with his face a little bit in the light was absolutely passed out. Oh. Look, as Mom gets up, how the rest of them also wake up at the same time, and at the moment they're just learning from Mom all these little habits. Might go up the tree a little bit, give herself a stretch. Yeah, that is beautiful. Look at that strong long tail that she's got. Really important in her agility and her balance when running. It's like a rudder for them. She seems to be just moving into the thicket once again. Maybe there's a little bit too much sun where she was lying, and now she's trying to find a little bit more shade. I don't think she's going to be moving too much further than that. Look at how the cubs are very aware. She'll keep on looking for the cubs, probably for a day or 2, possibly even a little bit longer, but not too much longer than that. Can imagine it, the chance of them surviving more than 2 nights by themselves is not very high. And we were discussing it earlier. I'd suggest that the reason she's not going actively towards where those cubs were last seen is because she knows these 3 are still here. She knows that they're alive and well, and she doesn't want to risk their lives for the time being for cubs that she doesn't actually know 100% if they're alive or not. So she's going to just cautiously move back into the area where those cubs were last seen and carry on calling. But we're going to probably lose sight of them now. They've gone into a really thick spot. I can still just see Mom, but there's one cub we can still see. And the cubs will be calling at the moment. They will probably be wherever they are. They'll be trying to call for Mom, and you can imagine it's quite an exhausting process. So she might call, and then have to rest a bit. There we go, she's calling again. Can't quite see them anymore. They've just gone into a thicket which has got a termite mound on the inside. And I don't want to move too much more because I think we might lose signal again. Yeah, if you look where we screening now, they're just behind there. You can just see a bit of movement for now, every now and then. You can see her actively calling. It's getting louder and louder, and then it gets softer and softer.
I don't have any more birdie surprises for you just now, but we are heading to quarantine. One thing about quarantine is that we check it in the morning. It's our first port of call. I mean, it's right outside camp. We practically live on quarantine. And then we rarely come back to it. And there's lots of movement. It's a prime area. And when you look at the territorial animals that hold their territory over Djuma, be it the Djuma clan, be it leopards or lions, you will find that in the winter, this particular area becomes the core area. When you actually analyze a territory that belongs to an animal, it's very much social dominance. It's an organism claiming this area and these resources as theirs. It's an act of, it's quite selfish to hold the territory. And it doesn't come for free. It comes at a lot of cost, energetically. I mean, you don't find leopards and lions walking around with dollars or pounds or rands in their pocket, but it comes at an energetic cost. So there's sort of a trade-off, really. You have this territory, but you got to pay for it. And it's not all equal across the board. So you have a home range. Yes, every organism has a home range, but the territory sits within the home range and it doesn't equal throughout. You normally have the core area, which will change between summer and winter, and then you have the sort of primary area, the secondary area, and even the tertiary areas. And they will actively defend these areas differently, and naturally the core area is the most important area. And what I find during winter, this particular area, Gowrie Dam, quarantine, is a guaranteed water point. Even Gallagher Pan here in Djuma, and it becomes a core area in a lot of organisms' territories. So especially during winter, we have a lot of activity on quarantine, and that's why we shouldn't forget about it. Oh, hello, little lapwing. I haven't said hello to you in a while. Okay, we're just going to give you, see this lapwing here? We're just going to give you one little view of it. Oh, has it disappeared? Oh well. We shall not give you a view, but we shall continue our Bumble Crown quarantine.
Fascinating and charismatic, these scaly-skinned mammals are one of the world's most elusive creatures. Here are some unique facts about pangolins. Pangolins have long, sticky tongues that can grow up to 1/3 of their body length. This is to help scoop up their prey. Pangolins walk on their knuckles so they can protect their claws. A baby pangolin is called a pango pup, and it rides on its mother's back for the first year of its life. A pangolin is the most heavily trafficked wild mammal in the world and is seriously threatened by extinction. Join 4 leading conservation specialists live on Saturday, June 5th as they discuss this unique animal and the threats it is faced with. Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Good morning and welcome back on Bushwalk. We've just been joined by another 30 elephants since that we last were on air. It's just amazing how many of them has just suddenly popped out to come and have a drink. A group has also been joined by a number of bulls, which irritated one of her cows, and she wasn't too happy with them. And she was quite aggressive towards them, and there we can just see the 3 bulls now disappearing off in the distance towards our right-hand side of the screen. I don't know what their problem is, but ladies obviously is not in the mood for these 3 gents, and they're most likely interested in female stress. Sometimes they become quite into them. It seems that those 2 bulls want to play a little bit. Just going to see if we can reposition it. We can get that. Yeah, that's when. There we go. They've just behind a tree. They've locked trunks and connected with their tusks, and it seems that they've now become untangled from one another and that they're not going to continue in any form of a dispute, and it seems that they've now moved off. But the bulls are also moving off in separate directions. So the last of the breeding herd is now also moving off, and they're also trying to catch up with the rest of the group. We've got a youngster willing to get up in this muddy. We're having a little bit as well. To catch up with I'd like to see him right off now to
There wasn't much happening around quarantine, I'm afraid. Did you see that little squirrel? Oh, no, don't run away. Camera shy. Oh, it reminds me of Wally. I can see the shadow climbing up this marula. I just can't see the squirrel. Oh, Wally. You all got to meet Wally. Wally liked to do the Dan Cam segments with me. He is very vocal. He was always trying to talk to you guys in my microphone. But hopefully he is off spreading his love to lots of female squirrels, shall we say. Okay, let's see if we can find anything along Rotella access. Do my last minute search around this area, see if I can find anything exciting, and you guys go over to Jaunty.
Well, we made it out of the signal quandary that we were in, and Tabangumi's actually moved a little bit further to, if it's possible, an even better spot for him to be posing for us. He made a beeline for a big marula tree here. I got very, very excited. I thought he was going to go, but he's still looking at it. That's it. Yeah, that's a comfortable branch there. Oh, Darren, I don't know if you can do the tree. So you might scent mark. No. Switch your head. Oh. Oh no. I'm just going to move the car. Oh, just teased us. And look at that. I wonder why I didn't go up there. That tree looks so good. The direction he's heading looks like some more marula trees in the distance. He's still very attentive, listening. He's still very attentive. We just kind of want to stay here and see what happens. Lauren's found a bird. I'm going to go join her and see what bird she's found.
A bird we don't often, well, we see a lot, actually, but they're not so easy to get on camera. We do have the green wood hoopoo. Hoopoo. Not the African hoopoo. The green wood hoopoo. Oh, and there's one up there, you can see, just up the top. It's getting some food, just a little bit higher. Remarkable beaks. Really, really long beaks that they use to sort of poke in holes and prod and get out all sorts of food from the inside. Especially insects. They love insects. They love larvae, insect larvae. You see it, Owen, just climbing up the tree there. There's two of them on opposite sides. There we go. Stunning birds. When they want to show themselves. There we go, look at that beak. Trees have natural holes, natural cavities. They also have cavities that have been created by woodpeckers or borer animals that bore into the wood like beetles. And that's ideal place for larvae, insects to sort of, they're getting something there. You're blowing quite hard into the radio there, Elsa, and you'll have to repeat that question. Carrie, there's all sorts of different types of nests, and I guess stereotypically we always think of a nest made of twigs in trees. But you get floating nests, for example, like the little grebes. We actually followed little grebes for a while at Gowrie Dam. I remember that. That was wonderful. And it floats, literally, on the water surface. It's not in a tree, and it's not made from twigs. Generally, they will use any sort of material that's around the water body to create their nests. So they'll use moss, possibly some sticks, absolutely, and they'll use water plants, and they'll just heap it together to create a little floating platform, which is actually quite spectacular. You'll see some birds create nests in embankments of the walls and riverbeds, especially carmine bee-eaters, for example. They'll use any sort of natural cavity that's within the wall of the embankment, and therefore it will be made of sand and maybe lined with a little bit of feathers and organic material. So it's not made from twigs. There's actually a huge range of types of nests. We just always think of those twig nests that you see high up in the trees. And some birds will nest inside the cavities of trees. We watched the brown-headed parrot who was using a natural hole in one of the dead leadwoods that had possibly been maybe created by another animal, so it's not terribly natural. And they will sort of kick out all the dirt and dust. Oh, and we're being watched. You see that up ahead on the road? Let's pretend we don't see it though. Oh no, it just ran away. Every time the Steenbok do not like to be on camera. But yes, there's lots and lots of different types of nests, not just ones made from twigs. So, as we bumble around, we're actually going to look for some more birds. We're going to send you guys over to John D.
Okay, but so Tavangumi's he's just teasing us. He's walked up 2 trees now, and he even bent his legs at the last one. And we thought he was going to go up. If you can get him there. He's just busy smelling something in the ground. Something's caught his attention there. But we all were so sure he was about... even bent his back legs. I think he's laughing at us. It's tricky. We're going to try to stay with him and see if he does go up a tree. He goes over to Eric and see what's happening at Ngala.
We've decided to leave the riverbed. For some reason, not very productive this morning. And we are now just driving along probably one of my favorite roads in the whole reserve, because it hugs right along the bank of the river, and you feel like you're driving in and amongst these beautiful tall trees within the Timbavati River. And then you do get, every now and again, you get patches like this where it's just big, flat, open grasslands. So you see, generally speaking, if there's a nice little bird down in the road over there. There it is. Look at it. Very busy with its head. It looks like it's foraging around, trying to scratch at insects that are there. I wonder if it's not like an ant's nest or something that it's in. But look at those colors. I mean, a chestnut brown and then a zebra black and white striped flanks. You might not be able to see it now, but they've got a very, very cool hairstyle as well. You can actually see, he looks like he might even be digging for something. There we go, he got something. Wait, that's amazing. There's that hairstyle. He's literally just killed it by stabbing it. And look at that grub is as long as its beak is, and it's gone. That was successful. And this is called, for those of you who don't know, this is called an African hoopoe. It looks like he's going back for more. So watch, I don't know if he does, but when it starts digging, you can literally see the dirt flinging out from the side of the road. Sure. And he must be coming out into the road, I guess, to to look at it and watch it properly, because I mean, otherwise he could easily just kill it within the grass there. Joshua, that beak is long, and no, it's for exactly what we're seeing now. It's for probing, so it's for digging in the ground and pulling out these small little grubs and insects, or scratching around in longer grass. And there's some birds, I mean, that have got bills that are about 4 or 5 times longer than their heads. And this family of birds, I mean, they don't only feed on the ground, but they're quite happy to feed up in the trees, and they'll be scratching in the little nooks and crannies of dead trees, looking for exactly what this one's looking for now. But it's quite amazing. I mean, if you look at the different species of birds throughout the bush, you can pretty much narrow down to exactly what they feed on by looking at their bill structure. And this one, very long needle-like bill, it's for, like I said, probing around in the long grass or within the soft sand looking for stuff. Then there's birds that specialize in feeding on fruit, and you might have heard them in the background. There's some parrots that were calling close by, and they've got these very big, robust bills for breaking open the husk of fruits and getting to the seeds. And there it finally flies. Decided to move off to a different area. That was a nice sighting. Let's carry on going. On the right-hand side is some of the clearings that I was mentioning a bit earlier on. You know, for the amount of rain we've had this summertime, the grass has exploded. So in areas around here, it's hip height, which is just too high for some animals to move around in because they're feeling very vulnerable. And I'll show you right now, actually, as we get closer here. This is a very robust, quite unnutritious grass, I'd say. So nothing feeds on it, and look, it's above my head. So it's basically about 1.5 meters tall. So cats will have no problem hiding in here, and the general game species realize it. So they will probably avoid this area until the grass is slightly more flattened. Safari kitty, not this type. This is called I think it's called a rat's tail drop seed or a spirabilis. So it's not the best. We've got a specific grass called a thatching grass that we use. But there's another beautiful bird. Again, quite a shy bird sometimes. So nice to see it. See what I mean by being shy? It's just disappeared. So this bird is a Burchell's cuckoo, and it also looks like it's disappeared, man. It was sitting on top of the bush there. It was a really nice view. I'll wait another 10-15 seconds before I move on. See, the bush is still moving there. I think it's right down at the bottom of the bush. The bottom left, there we go. Oh, look at that. Also fantastic colors. So if you've got high definition in those screens of yours, try and see if you can see the color of its eye. Oh, look how big that tail is. Now that the sun is coming out, you should see it's got quite a distinctive red eye. And landed in the tree. Nice. Okay, that's, I guess it's going off. There's actually quite a productive little birding spot around here. It's nice to see. Yeah, so like I was saying, Safari Kitty, this grass here is not the best for thatching. It's not actually very good to eat for animals as well. But I guess these birds, I mean, some of these bird species will feed on the fluorescence, which is all of this stuff. So these are all basically the seeds that they'll feed on. And I mean, as the wind has been blowing and the rain has been hitting, you can see like every time I hit it, the seed drops. So that might be one of the reasons why we've been seeing a few different species of birds on the grass or on the road looking for that little bit of seed. By the looks of it, nobody's driven this road this morning. It's because I can still see it's quite worn out from the rain, and the tracks aren't looking very fresh at all. So, and if we do see something, we know that it was from yesterday afternoon or after the rain at around 7 or 8 o'clock last night. We'll check a small little pan just around the corner, and if there's some more bird life, I'll be sure to frame it up for you. Okay. So, like I say, that pan again, we're going to be going through a slightly denser area, then another open patch, and then right at the apex of this road, before it starts bending away from the river again, is that pan. And this season it was very productive. I saw a giant kingfisher there, which is actually quite uncommon for the Timbavati area.
The annual Safari Guide of the Year competition aims to create awareness for those men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. This year's event will be held at Maripskop, a breathtaking privately managed section of the Marikele National Park in South Africa's Limpopo province. In celebration of this, Wild Earth and Maripskop Luxury Lodges are offering all explorers a chance to win a 3-night stay at Maripskop Safari Lodge for you and a friend. In addition to a spectacular land-based safari, Maripskop Luxury Lodges offer an opportunity for guests to cruise peacefully along the Matlabas River, watching the animals as they drink and wallow. The lodge offers you a chance to lie by the pool or enjoy a spa treatment, and one night could be spent sleeping out under the stars in a luxurious treehouse. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the 30th of June, and it could be you heading off on a long-awaited getaway. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying, and that's been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catchers on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
Hi everyone,
my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Where am I heading? Home. In the direction of home. It's breakfast time, everyone. Wednesday is a tough day. It's not an easy day at Juma camp. It's the day the food arrives. But the food does not arrive until the afternoon. So breakfast is a toughie. But what is interesting is once a week, every day on food delivery day, one by one, ding, 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 the vervet monkeys arrive. It's incredible. They know which day the food is going to arrive. Yes, they do. And it's the same troop. One by one, they line up. I'll try and take a photo for you all on the top of our rooms, watching and waiting very patiently for the pick and pay truck to arrive. It's a joyous day. They know exactly the position of everything in the kitchen. You leave that kitchen door open for just a fraction of a second too long and you're in trouble, because those monkeys know how to get in and they know exactly what they want. They first go for the bananas, which we probably should actually switch up our location of the bananas so that they can't access them so easily. Then they go for their other fruit, that's in the other box. And then once they've readied the fruit boxes, they will go for all sorts of things, including the jars of peanut butter. So we have to be very, very careful when the food delivery comes. We've had some hiccups, especially with people that are new in camp. Darren, he's one to watch. He leaves that door open. And oh, Darren, you will not be popular if you leave that door open and the monkeys get in. It's not just the monkeys. We have 2 red-billed hornbills that come in. I accidentally shut them in the kitchen the other day. I didn't realize they were in there. Closed the door and then all of a sudden there's 2 hornbills come out. Ah, what about us? Starlings? Starlings love the kitchen. Love, love, love our kitchen. And the squirrels. Yes. It would be interesting to leave the door open and have a camera up and actually see what all of these different species will do. But the hornbills just walk in like this, and they know exactly what they're looking for as well. Very familiar with the kitchen. Okay, Impala, we are going to look at you. Can you get them from here, Owen? There we go. Now that the sun has popped out and everything is a little bit warmer, marginally so, I can feel my fingers again, which is good. One wants to feel one's fingers. It must be a tough night being an impala. You have to sleep, but you have to stay alert. You have to keep warm. The birds are awake now too, the dawn chorus. It happens a little bit later in winter because they're too cold to start early. They're endothermic just like us birds. They have to warm up. And the dawn chorus is a way of letting everyone know that you survived the night and it's still your territory. This little patch is still yours. You're still here and no one can come and take it from you. You're singing at the top of your lungs to announce your presence and to let everybody know that you're still here. Nikki, any animals that I wish would come into camp? I don't think I could possibly say that I wish any animal would come into our camp. Our camp is extremely wild. Swazi is a regular. Swazi pretty much grew up in our camp. That's a spotted hyena, for any of you who are not sure who Swazi is. In fact, the whole Juma clan come into our camp. We have regular sightings of leopards. I remember Shidulu sawing on my porch. Almost had a heart attack, but that's okay. Davi didn't wake up. Typical. But she was sawing on my porch. And Tungana's made a few kills in our camp, which is obviously not good, and that is handled by Juma. We can't have that. Do you have elephants coming? We had the Nkuhumas chase a buffalo. Were you not there that time, Owen? I'm sure you were there the time the lion hunt took place through our camp. But I can't say that I wish any animal would come into our camp. We definitely have enough wild moments. We have some frogs, bubbling casinos in my toilet tank right now. I also have to figure out what to do with them. So, as I admire these wonderful impala, we are going to send you over to the wonderful Jonty.
Hey everyone, Tavangumi's still sniffing around. He's just had his head in a vacated warthog burrow. He's stopped here. I think he can still hear something. He's made it quite tricky for us to try and follow him. See that powerful feet and legs of this male leopard. Darv and I were just saying how often we make mistakes. How often we make mistakes. You know, we would have put money that he was going to go fast asleep sort of 40 minutes ago. And then he stretched, yawned, and got up. And has just carried on here. I don't know what he's seen. But I don't want to move the car now. Oh, Tamba, I've had some really great sightings with him. I think we had a huge sighting where he did catch a warthog that torpedoed out of a warthog burrow. It was really, really impressive. I'm just going to stay here. I know he's moved off, but he looked like he'd maybe heard something. So I don't want to disturb whatever he's up to over there. But yeah, when Tamba caught that warthog, it was ridiculous. It kind of exploded out straight towards our vehicle. He was actually with the female leopard at the time. He was trying to mate with him. And it was absolute chaos. Can you still see him? Can you get that?
Can't see it.
Let me just go back a tiny bit. It's just on the left-hand side of that termite mound. Oh no. It's tough. We always want to follow them and see what they get up to, but also we definitely know he is looking for food here, and us crashing around behind them, we definitely don't want to interfere and impact with him actually catching something. So it's really nice to sometimes let him carry on and have the bush to himself. That's really, really also what it's about. We don't want to overstep our sort of place here with them, and we've been really spoilt with him. So you can get these Franklins down here. Let me go forward a little bit. There we got them. So I think we'll let Tavangumi carry on his morning. Maybe Lauren will come back and find him this afternoon. These two crested francolins. Geez, it looks like he pecked it in the eye. Bit of grooming. Sun's warming up. I think we're going to start heading back to look for a bit of breakfast. The stomach is rumbling. Maybe a bit of exercise. Davy and Darren are talking about injuring our legs today. But I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us this morning. We certainly had a wonderful morning with Tavangumi, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And please join us this afternoon. We'll be here in the same place, waiting to go on drive and see what we can find.